I remember my father, he said when I was leaving, "Don't come back." And he told the guy, "Keep her, don't bring her back."
It's like marching down a trench that's slowly getting deeper, and the sunlight disappears and all you can see is a long rut. And for me, a rut is just a grave with the ends kicked out. It's a horrible place to be.
It's a very, very dead feeling that you just have nothing left. You feel I just felt that I'd given him all my love, all my care I could possibly do for him. I just feel I'd given my whole self to Gord, and there was nothing left for me.
Depression can be a psychological reaction to a loss of something or someone very special to us. If it is because of the loss of a dear one, we call it grief reaction. Depression can also be a part of a lifestyle in which people are really frustrated and angry and exhausted and tired. If that lasts for years, we call it dysthymia. And depression can be part of manic depressive illness, an illness that runs in the families and affects people to such an extent that sometimes they need to be hospitalized to be treated.
Chess is an interesting sort of thing in that it's my yardstick for reality. It's how I measure how Bill Clayton is doing in the world and how his brain is functioning. It's a very polite way to solve disputes. Two people, instead of beating the heck out of each other, play a game of chess and get their aggression out, or at least that's how I get my aggression out.
Bill, who is a computer analyst, has been suffering from manic depressive illness for years. Although his illness has stabilized in recent years, he is still unable to work, and his family has found it difficult to cope with his illness.
With the new advancements in treatment, depressed patients don't have to stay in the hospital for a long period of time. They're able to go back and live with the dear ones in their own homes. Such a situation, though good for the patients, has created new pressures and new challenges for their families and their communities.
The thing that concerns me about this depression is that now that I'm ready for life and to emotionally love people, I may have driven them all away. So I worry about that.
Rose, age 35, lives today with her dog, who is her closest friend and main source of comfort. For years, she felt trapped in a job she hated. She grew up in a family where her father suffered from manic depressive illness and was abusive to the family.
He's told us all that he never wanted kids. He made that quite clear. He used to frequently say that he never wanted kids. It was all your mother's idea, and that he should have went behind the woodpile and shook it off. And he accused me of things that I wasn't doing. Like at 12, if I was at the dinner table, he'd say, "You can't wait to eat your dinner." Again, you had to go outside and meet 6 boys behind the bushes. And none of that was happening, and none of that was true. I found it quite disgusting that he would say things like that, but that's just the way he was. And he treated my mother like a slave. He used to order her in from the kitchen to come in and change the TV channel for him. Or he'd say, if he had a button missing on his pants, put a button on my pants and throw them right in her face. She was treated like a slave.
June, a registered nurse, cared for her husband of 40 years during his 9-year struggle with cancer. He became the focus of her existence, and when he died, she experienced a profound grief reaction and felt emotionally paralyzed.
My husband Gordon was a firefighter, very strong man. We both lived a very active life and shared our lives so much together. And how things have changed once this diagnosis was put on him. It was very devastating to find out that the man you loved would not be with you forever, and something was definitely wrong here.
Manic depressive illness can be unipolar, in which patients only have episodes of depression, or it can be bipolar, in which they also have the episodes of mania. In different types of manic depressive illness, there are biochemical changes in the brain. The levels of noradrenaline, dopamine, and serotonin are quite low in the brain, and with antidepressants, those levels are raised so that the symptoms of depression are successfully controlled.
The Haldol is a wonderful drug and a terrible drug at the same time. When I was having a psychotic episode, it would slow me right down. The problem was I felt slowed right down. And patients resist that feeling. So we tapered that off as I got better. The antidepressant drugs, I didn't get a lot of benefit out of. They didn't seem to perk me up particularly, but it's very difficult to be objective when you're depressed. Maybe they did help me from getting worse and sort of stabilized it. I just didn't notice any great improvement. So I have mixed emotions about that.
All this bizarre stuff happened when you started taking the course, that whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, but it would have happened anyway.
How do you know?
Well, I don't have statistics and numbers that I can prove anything with, but it was a coincidence that I found something interesting that I like to do outside of my work, which was boring the heck out of me, in the human relations field, and just because I was taking hypnosis courses to make some changes in myself, you think the two are connected. I could have broken a leg and the same thing would have happened.
No, because it's the whole thing is dealing with mental processes. It took your mental processes and screwed them up somehow.
Well, I prefer to think of unscrewing some of them, but
And I don't recall you ever saying you were bored with your work before.
I hated it for the last 2 years. And the hypnosis courses and stuff made life interesting again. I went through life not understanding people and just telling them what to do. I was a terrible manager.
Well, what do you think happened then with the hallucinations and bizarre behavior and seeing things and hearing messages from the TV and walking around the house naked and backwards and trying to walk out the door like that?
The manicky happened early on when I was having problems of work, in that I would get very excited, full of energy, convinced I was right on a project, and just go, 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 go. But it didn't stop at a reasonable point. It would last for 2 or 3 days without sleep, and then I would start to imagine things such as messages coming from the TV directed at me, or secret things coming from the aquarium that I thought I was communicating with the universe in some way.
And it got to the point where I didn't care anymore. I was like I was sitting there and waiting for him to tell me that he wants to die, because I would have said to him, go ahead, I don't care. When someone manipulates someone and does things like that to keep them, eventually it just doesn't work anymore. They just don't care. On Sunday, the 21st, my father hung himself. So that more than set me back. Actually, what happened is I lost my mind. I wasn't When my mother died, I was very sad. I loved my mother with all my heart, and I would have done anything for her to be alive. And I always thought that because I hated my father and how nasty he was and mean to us and all the rotten things he did to us and everything else, I always thought that when he died that it would be a relief. But when he died, it's not that it was a relief, it was a shock.
I knew that I needed help, I needed professional help. And it's more than what your family, support from family is. It's a different kind of help.
Depression can be a psychological reaction to a loss of someone or something very special to us. Those people who retain their independence, even in intimate relationships, deal far better with the separation than those people who are very dependent on their dear ones. They put all the eggs in one basket, and finally, if they lose them by divorce or by death, then usually they fall apart.
June and I have been neighbors for 16 years. We've lived side by side, and we've become quite close. When Gord was diagnosed with cancer, we had just been to a golf tournament together, and we had a really good time, but he had this lump in his chest, and they finally came back with a diagnosis of cancer. June had a very difficult time with it because being a nurse, she knew what he was going to go through. And we expected probably a 2-year illness, and it ended up being 9. He really struggled valiantly, and he couldn't have done it without June. She was there 24 hours a day, every day. It was very difficult for her.
I could see that this was really having a very wearing effect on June. Gord, for all the positive aspects of him, I saw him as demanding, as controlling. And June wanted to be there for him and was committed to be there for him. But at the same time, I saw that she chafed at times because it was so completely demanding of her time and energy and emotional energy.
We were told to get our life together, get our finances in order, and for him to quit work, and our lifestyle would be changing. He refused to do this. He felt he could conquer this himself, and we thought together, me being a nurse, we can fix this ourselves.
She would come out and talk with me and break down in tears every time I saw her.
The last 3 days were of his life, he slipped into a coma, and I knew then that the end was coming. But in my heart, I felt that I could have looked after him forever, even though he was in bed and not able to respond to my wishes.
In the weeks that followed his death, the shock and the reality of her aloneness was very intense. And I think she had to work through not only the grief, but also just the mental exhaustion and emotional exhaustion that had been building up for years.
Women have a great nurturing role throughout their lives, and they are vulnerable to depression when they reach certain milestones, having the last baby, last child going to school, children going off to university, last child leaving home, and even the end of the reproductive cycle. And lastly, men share activities and are very goal-oriented, whereas women share feelings and nurture each other and are very process-oriented. Women tend to invest themselves greatly in any relationship that they value, and when the other person dies, moves away, or disappoints them in the relationship, they find that there's a large void there, which seems impossible to fill.
The hospital called around 3 in the morning and said that she'd taken a turn for the worst. And we came up, got there as fast as we could. I wanted to do anything. I told the doctor, if you need blood, take it. If you need veins out of my arm to make some kind of an artery or anything, take them. I wanted to give her a heart transplant. I wanted to give her my heart so that she could live. But they told me that you can't do that. You can't take a life to save a life when it might reject and it might not work out. And it was Wednesday, April the 18th. My mom died at 10 to 8 in the morning.
Probably Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was the most famous of these people, and her theory was that first there is a stage of denial, then anger, then bargaining, and then depression, and then acceptance. The problem with this is that depending on many issues around the individual who's experienced the loss and many variables in the loss itself, people go through those stages in different orders and to different intensities.
I found that I was wishing my life away. I couldn't wait for the next 30 years of my life to end so that I'd be out of there.
Each person has a breaking point and can take so much weight. And for me, it happened that 6 major things in my life were going sour. The government was trying to take away my truck driving license because they were concerned that a manic depressive might not be roadworthy. The bank was giving me a hard time about one thing and another. An insurance company was giving me a problem. I was having some other major problems. And a bill came in from the phone company charging me 27 cents for something I didn't do. And that was it. That was the last little piece. So I sat down here all day by myself thinking. My wife offered me dinner. I said, no, you go to bed. And I'd gotten a bottle of gin because for something like that, that's where my courage came from. I drank the gin, took 2 bottles of aspirin, some Tylenol, and a few other things in the medicine cabinet, and said, that's it. There's no point going on. There's nothing to look forward to.
It is unfortunate that many people who suffer from different kinds of depression and can be successfully treated with medications and different forms of therapy never see a therapist.
At one point, like downstairs, the fish tank is right next to the TV. You'd sit and watch TV in the fish tank, the reflection, because you'd say the colors or whatever was too bright on the TV.
Yeah, I know.
And you read a newspaper once and thought I was putting something in the newspaper that I don't know what it was supposed to be doing to you, but you actually went out and bought another newspaper somewhere else to see if it was the same or if I had done something to that newspaper.
I used to also get secret messages from personalized license plates. But I never told you about that one.
Oh, great.
I was at the top of my job, which I lost. I was master of the lodge for my year. I was at the peak of my earning capability, and I'm wearing my fancy bib and tucker just for the photograph. That's the top. You'll see the bottom.
Therapy changed my whole life. I was a person that had no self-esteem, no confidence. I was depressed, totally depressed. The future I felt I didn't have, I was lost. Seeking help was everything. It improved me to who I am today. It's like I had so much garbage and so much things from my childhood. All I ever did was push it under the rug. When I was 21 and my mother passed away, that's when it all came out. Everything that I've gone through, that little dog's gone through. When my father killed himself, that little dog saved me. And when I've been depressed, that dog's always been there for me. It's very special. I've been depressed and she'll come up to me and comfort me, and she'll come up and lick my teardrops, and she sleeps with me, and I take her out. It gets me out. I'm looking forward to getting my grade 12 equivalency, going on into massage therapy, and being able to go out there and work one day, whether I work for someone or I freelance or set up my own business. I know I love traveling, and I've got my whole life ahead of me.
How could God do this to me, you know, like that I just don't have my husband now that I loved so much. And we were so happy together and had everything to live for. Our wonderful grandchildren and our children, and now we're not together, there's just me. You know, I felt, why me, Lord, why me?
She seems to have been able to now, with the therapy and the help, to take those tentative steps, seems to be able to get ahead, and I think that she's on the right road now.
I feel now that I've come a long way, and I feel the break in my life, and I feel like I'm sort of young again, and I can go skiing and put myself in a chair with somebody else that I don't know, and I can feel I can share with other people and feel young at heart and able to be receptive of someone else, that your love hasn't really ended. You are free to love again.
My life has changed. My life has changed from 0 to 10.
I've lost something. There's a piece of me that isn't there anymore. I mean, will you ever love me again?
I don't know, it's hard to say. If things go on this way, or preferably get better, I can see us still together, but I don't know, it's hard to say.
I got a new challenge.
What's that?
I was pretty cold for 20 years. You just fell in love with this pushy person.
I didn't find you cold.
Yeah, but that's how it felt to me. And now I feel so much more, and there's actually some good things to come out of this. And you're not there to be loved anymore. I want more hugging and kissing and touching and all the physical things I never wanted before.
I've had to distance myself from you. If I got too caught up in where you were going, I couldn't function. So we've sort of, you went down to the basement, so we left you alone. There was a point I stopped trying to include you in things because I know what the answer would be, or it would sort of bring the rest of us down. So I had to distance myself. So many times we went through the ups where I thought things were going to be good again, and then it was crash again, and I don't think I could take it.
Well, the hard part is, I look around now for somebody to love and everybody's run away.
You pushed us away for so long. It's going to take time.
Many scientists believe that creativity and insanity are intimately connected. Both deal with the unconscious mind, and both are outside the range of normal behavior. In creativity, the artists touch the heights of creative expression. In insanity, they touch the depths of human despair. Artists like Virginia Woolf, Ernest Hemingway, and Sylvia Plath touched both extremes of the human condition.
Many people who suffer from depression have perfectionistic and idealistic personalities. Many grew up in families where the parents had high expectations from them, and they felt loved not for who they were, but rather for how well they performed. They do not realize that their expectations from life are unrealistic. That is why they are easily disappointed and get depressed. There has been gradual awareness in the public that depressions don't just affect individuals. They also affect families and communities, and joint efforts are needed to control and prevent them. Public education through newspapers, magazines, and television programs has also played a significant role in increasing social consciousness. More and more people are receiving professional help and are realizing that there is a light at the end of the dark tunnel.